Hey guys, how you doing? This is LaQueen here on a snowy Monday night here on the south side of Chicago. And I wanted to continue the series on marriage and mental illness. And what I want to talk about tonight, especially dealing with marrying somebody with mental illness, is the stigma of poverty. So I'm just basically offering my personal experience. I'm not a professional. And I only have certifications. I have a bachelor's degree. I also have an associate's degree of arts and a bachelor's degree of arts, but I am not certified to work with family or marriage counseling. I'm just pretty much giving my personal opinion and my life experiences to hopefully share with you guys, and also to help me understand and follow my own advice to help me work through the cycles of depression and manic depression and bipolar illness. And it helps me to actually process this more clearly in hopes that eventually one day I will get married and find my helpmeet. So that's what I wanted to talk about tonight, is marriage and mental illness, and poverty in marriage. And so I do have a couple of Bible verses I'm going to go ahead and review right quickly. I'm just going to review Matthew 19:4, 1 Peter 4:8, and Philippians 4:6 and 7, and Galatians 6:2. Now, when you marry somebody, you join with them, you join their family, you join the covenant between their family, and you and that person become one, become a bond. And so pretty much the marriage vows are in sickness and in health, over here, to have and to hold from this day forward, for better or for worse, for richer or poorer, in sickness and health, and to death do us part. And so growing up, I experienced great relationships with the relationships between my aunts and my uncles, and how they always bonded together, even through sickness. Like my uncle, he was in a hospital. He was in a hospital, almost terminally ill, and he was on put on disability, long-term disability. How my other aunt and uncle in Fort Worth, how they always bonded together through rebuilding houses, and through job troubles and kids, marriages, instability with kids, and going through job transitions, and how my other aunt and uncle, who are evangelists, how they traveled and they did their ministry through traveling to different states and around the world, but how they also stuck together through that marriage. And that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for a helpmeet who will stick together with me through my manic depression, through my bipolar illness, through my sickness, through even the hospitalizations. I'm looking for a helpmeet that will help to cover me through everything that I've been through. And so here in the city of Chicago, I really haven't found a helpmeet. I really haven't found somebody to cover me, to shelter me from, from the different environments of the city, from the rich side to the north side to the south side. I really haven't found that person. I found, like I said before, temporary relationships, and I found quick fixes here and there, but I wasn't able to actually find a real permanent person to provide stability in my life. And so when I'm looking for a mate, I'm looking for somebody who can provide protection for me, who can provide comfort for me, who can provide fulfillment for me, who can provide guidance and protection for me. And especially dealing with mental illness, is I need somebody to comfort me when I'm despair. I need somebody to provide guidance and assurance for me that it will be okay. And that someone who can understand what I'm going through, who can understand my moods, who can understand, the different cycles of the moods and the highs and the lows of the bipolar depression. I'm looking for somebody who can help me and guide me through this illness that I've been through going in my life. And so seeing all the the positive relationships of marriage and stability that I grew up with in my life, my aunts and my uncles, and how my dad, he had two failed marriages, I wasn't really, I was kind of a little bit unbalanced, because there was an imbalance in my life, because my dad, he had two failed marriages, but my aunts and uncles, they had stability in their marriages. And even through the sicknesses, the hospitalizations, through the job loss, through the moving from house to house and home to home, through the kids going in and out, through the problems with the law, but they always stuck together. And that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for somebody who will stick together with me, who provide comfort for me, who provide protection for me. And growing up in this cycle of poverty, especially in the ghetto or just in the low income environments, it's like you marry somebody just out of need. You marry somebody, just out of finances, or you need somebody to take care of you, like in The Color Purple, Celie married Mr. because she was broke, she was poor, she didn't have anything for her, she didn't have a family, she didn't have protection of her life. And so, dealing with that type of environment, I've been exposed to just to move in with somebody or have a man just take care of me, because I didn't know how to take care of myself, because I didn't have stability in myself, because I didn't know how to find that fulfillment in myself, because I was unstable. I wasn't on the right meds. I didn't have, I didn't have the right therapy. I didn't have the right guidance from a woman or a man's professional opinion to guide me into the type of relationships that I needed to go to. And so now in my 30s, I'm struggling. I'm struggling with finding fulfillment in my life. I'm struggling with finding comfort in my life. I'm struggling. I'm going from place to place. I'm going from club to club and place to place, looking for somebody, looking for some kind of comfort, looking for some kind of fulfillment in my life. And I'm not finding that yet. It's like people say, oh, you should have friends. You should really meet your friends and have a friend of a friend who will introduce you to a friend of a friend. Or you should go to networking events and meet people. And that's how you meet people. But for me, it's difficult because I constantly, everywhere I go, and like I'm wearing this hat right now with Colin Kirkpatrick, I face the stigma of mental illness, the stigma of being, typecasted, the stigma of being, having my reputation, this bad reputation follow me everywhere I go. It's like a shadow. It's like my shadow of depression, my shadow of bipolar illness follow me everywhere I go. And when I'm looking for a man to be in my life, I want him to provide me comfort. I want him to provide guidance for me. I want to provide, some kind of covering for me, so I won't have to go from place to place to place looking and searching, because the man will come and find me. I won't have to go out there and find him. And so, especially dealing with bipolar and the manias and the highs, you have the promiscuity, and you have the spending highs, and you have the manic highs and the highs, and then you have the very depressive lows with the suicide and the depression and the constantly staying in bed all the time. And so when I see couples on the street together, holding hands, or when I see my uncles and aunts and my cousins who are married and have years and years, and their children are together, are they're in stable relationships, and they have homes and they have boyfriends, but they're in stable relationships, I'm not jealous, but I want that same thing in my life. And so dealing with this mental illness, it's like a struggle. It's a struggle to find a stable relationship in my life. And like I said before, God doesn't want for man to be alone. Man wasn't meant to be alone. And so I know God has somebody out there for me. I know that, I'm not meant to live alone. I know I'm not meant to bear the struggle by myself. But it's hard, it's hard getting out there. It's hard struggling. It's hard finding my independence. It's hard finding somebody who I can agree with, who we share the same likes. We share the same, the music, the same thing. We agree with each other. And that's hard to find. And then dealing with depression and dealing with bipolar disorder, I have to face that. And then I also have to face, my finances and getting my finances in order. And so when you meet somebody, you want to know what kind of job they have. You want to know who they are. You want to know what their family is. You want to know as much about them as you can, so you can have a relationship with that person. And so growing up, I was exposed to great relationships with my mentors, with my best friends, with my aunts and my uncles and my cousins, and they had great stable relationships where they grew their kids, they made kids, and they buried kids out of these relationships. And so seeing that the successfulness of my family and my aunts and uncles and my cousins succeed in their relationships, and now me in my 30s, what's wrong with me? What's my problem? And so that's what having like this mental illness, even being single with this mental illness, is like all about that instability. The highs and the lows is like you're like a constant, like a seesaw, going up and down and up and down and up and down, like a seesaw. And so really finding that helped me, you need to have somebody that can balance that seesaw. And so I'm still looking for help. Me, I'm not perfect, eventually, I don't know if he's going to find me or if I'm going to find him, but I've been following some really great ministers. I've been following Bishop T.D. Jakes and Pastor Rodney Howard Brown, and Calvary Cathedral, and Paula White, and and all these great ministers that talk, and Joyce Meyer, and all these great ministers that talk about having a stable mind and having a good relationship and marriage. And eventually I know I get there, but I'm not there yet. And so during this week of Valentine's, I'm just going from place to place, just looking around town in the city of Chicago, just trying to enjoy my singleness, and just going from restaurant to restaurant, just figuring out what's going on in the city and what new vibes are going on in the town, what new vibes of food, what new vibes of culture is going on in the town. I'm just exploring my singleness. But at the same time, while I'm exploring my singleness, I'm also embracing the fact that one day I do want to get married. One day I want to have the same relationships that my aunts and my uncles and my cousins and all my family, all my friends have, that I'm lacking. It's like I'm not jealous of what they have, but I'm lacking the same thing that they have to make their life stable. And so it says right here, it says in Philip, in the Bible, let's go to Philippians 4, 6, and 7. Okay, I have the Good News Bible, and we're just going to go this right quickly to Philippians 4, 6, and 7. Okay, let's see here, Philippians 4, 6, and 7. Okay, so like I said before, I'm not a professional, but I'm just offering my personal advice to offer you guys some hope of those that are single, or those that are going through marriage issues, that are struggling with mental illness between yourself or your partner, and maybe you'll find some comfort in what I'm offering, what I'm talking about tonight. So Philippians 4, 6, and 7, it says, don't worry about anything, but in all your prayers, ask God for what you need, always asking Him with a thankful heart. And God's peace, which is far beyond human understanding, will keep your hearts and minds safe in union with Christ Jesus. And so it talks here in Philippians, it says, don't be anxious for nothing, but in everything give prayer and supplication to God. And so dealing with a lot of anxiety and depression and mania, and constantly anxious about what's going on in the culture. God says in His word, He says, don't be anxious. He says, don't worry about it. Let it go. Just let it go. Don't be anxious about marriage. Don't be anxious about your future. Don't be anxious about your finances. Don't be anxious about making bills, paying your bills. Just relax. Just, it's under control. And it says here, just give it to God in prayer and supplication. Make your thoughts known to Him. And so, dealing with my bills, and dealing with building my credit, and dealing with being on the right medication, and dealing with finding the right partner one day, God's telling me here, He says, just give it to Him. Don't worry about it. Just give it to Him. Just pray about it. Give it to God. And so that's what I need to do. I just need to give my anxiety to God. I need to give my depression and my worries to God. I need to give my anxiety. I need to give my feelings of depression, my feelings of worry, my feelings of sadness, my feelings of suicide. I just need to give that to God, because God will have a help me for me. God will make a way out of no way. And so it says right here in his word, it says, don't be anxious. Don't worry about it. Just give it all to him. But also it says in his word, it says, faith without works is dead. So at the same time, I have to give my anxieties to him. I just can't let it go. I actually have to do something about it. And so I have to put faith, I have to put the seeds in there. It's like the faith, the size of a mustard seed, that small. And so I actually have to put the seeds of faith in there to let my faith grow. You know, I have to give my anxiety over to God, but I also have to have the faith to make that happen, to make my future happen. And so, you know, while I'm giving my prayers over to God, I'm still paying my bills. I'm still on my meds. I'm still going to work every day. I'm still having a great relationship with my family. I'm still going to therapy. I'm still going to counseling. I'm still doing everything that I can because I'm taking those steps of faith. Even though I gave my anxiety over to God, I gave it over to God, you know, I still have to take those steps of faith in order for God to make a way. And so dealing with you know, mental illness is like you're struggling with anxiety, you're struggling with depression, you don't know what's going on, you don't know where to go. And so you're constantly, you know, for me, it's like I've constantly been, you know, in and out of hospitals, in and out of jobs, in and out of relationships, you know, in and out. And, you know, I should just relax and just give it all to God. At the same time, I should have took the steps of faith and decided to myself, okay, you know what? I give this all to you, God. So what's going to be my next move? My next move is going to be, okay, maybe this job is not working for me, so let me change to a new job. Or maybe I just need to relax and calm down and just continue more therapy and medication. Or maybe I need to talk to somebody about my anxiety. I need to talk to somebody about being single. I need to talk to somebody about one day I want to be married. And so I can't keep it all to myself. And that's what a lot of people with depression struggle with. They struggle with keeping things to themselves. They struggle with, you know, isolation. They struggle with being alone. They struggle with, you know, depression and suicide because they all keep it to themselves, you know. And a lot of people this year have committed suicide because they kept a lot of those feelings to themselves, struggling with finances, struggling with relationships, struggling with anxiety here and there, not really knowing what the future holds for tomorrow. So it's like, Lord, I give my anxiety over to you. I give my life over to you, but I'm still going to take the steps of faith to do the next step, to pray that you'll make the next step for me to take. And so that's how it works in marriage. It's like you and your partner are bonded together. You are one. And so it's not just you making the steps, it's you and your partner making the steps, you know, making the steps together. It's like you and your partner are a union together. And so it says in your word, it says in his word, don't be anxious for nothing. So I'm going to go to another word in the Bible. Let's go to Galatians 6:2. Okay, let's go to Galatians 6:2. Go in here, find here in the Bible. Let's see. Okay, Galatians 6:2. Okay, and this is the Good News Bible. Okay, so we're gonna go to Galatians 6:2. Okay. And it says here, it says in Galatians 6:2, it says, help carry one another's burdens, and in this way you will obey the law of Christ. If someone thinks he is something when he is really nothing, he is only deceiving himself. Each one should judge his own conduct. If it is good, then he can be proud of what he himself has done, without having to compare it with what somebody else has done. For everyone has to carry his own load. It says right here, it says in Galatians 6:2, it says, help carry one another's burdens, and in this way you will obey the law of Christ. So when you're joining with that marriage, like I saw between my aunts and my uncles and my cousins, I saw that they just didn't do things by themselves, but they also always consulted with one another. So when one person was sick, the other person stepped in and worked an extra job, you know. So they carried their burdens with each other. They just carried that load, you know. They carried that load of sickness. They carried that load of depression. You know, they carried because they were together. They were bonded together in unity. They're like a spirit together, you know. I mean, you share the same name with the person. You share the same finances. You share the same children, but it's like you share one another's burdens. And so especially with dealing with depression, you need somebody to share your burdens with you. You need somebody to actually lift you up and carry that load of, that load of depression, that load of anxiety, that load of like fears, like a constant fear in you that just wants to take you out, that just wants to take your spirit out. And so when you're looking for somebody to marry, you want to look for somebody that can counsel you. You want to look for somebody that can provide strength for you. You want to look for somebody that can lift that burden in you. And so these are just a couple of Bible verses that I shared tonight. About in Galatians, about having somebody to lift your load, and also in Philippians 4, 6, and 7, do not be anxious for nothing. And so, dealing with depression and mania and mental illness and bipolar depression, and with poverty, eventually I do want to have somebody. I do want to have somebody in my life. But at the same time, God's telling me, he's like, in this verse right now, he's like, don't be anxious. Don't worry about it. Give it all to me. But at the same time, I have to take those steps of faith to say, you know what, God, you do your part and I'll do mine. Now, again, I'm just saying this Bible verses because I'm not a perfect Christian. I am no way perfect in no shape or form. I'm not saying, oh, I go to church every Sunday and, oh, I grew up in a Christian household and I've sinned and I'm still, pure and almighty. I'm not a perfect person. And no way I'm saying I'm better than anybody else. I'm just sharing my opinion that eventually one day I'll get married and eventually one day I'll have a help me for somebody who can lift my burdens, for somebody who can help me with my anxiety, for somebody who can help me with my poverty, with my illness and with my struggle from job to job and job. And so that's what I'm looking for to help me. That's what I'm looking for in a marriage one day. And I don't know who I'll marry. Eventually, I know that God will make a way for me, even if he's black or white, Asian, Hispanic, wherever he comes from, Indian, I don't know. But, I pray that God will make a way out of no way. And so, I don't know if I'm ready yet to be married. I don't know if you're ready yet to be married. But just, it's like God's telling you just don't worry about it. Be anxious for nothing. Cast all your burdens upon him, for he cares for you. And so, God's telling you just to lift up your eyes, lift up yourself, give it all to me. All those anxieties, all those depression, all that illness is lifted up. But still, at the same time, he wants to give your worries to him. But at the same time, you have to take the steps of faith. You have to continue the medication. You have to continue the therapy. You have to continue talking with your partner. You have to continue, taking care of your finances, taking care of the home, taking care of the children, because you do your part and God will do his part. And so I just want to pray with you guys right now tonight that, whatever you're struggling, whatever you're going through, and I agree with myself tonight that God will make a way out of no way, and that whatever is marriage or singleness, or you're engaged and you're struggling with whether to marry this person or not, I just pray that God will provide guidance for you. And that, like I said, I'm not a perfect person, but I'm just sharing my experiences of what I went through. And eventually one day I'll get married to my mate, whoever he or she is, whoever he is. So I'll get married to my mate one day. And so, I just pray, guys, that, God will give you comfort and God will give you guidance right now. So I just want to pray for you guys for comfort and for guidance. I'm actually just pray this sinner's prayer with me, okay? So if you don't know Jesus and if you like to step in your heart, just pray with me right now and have your heart made new again, okay? So just go ahead and bow your head and close your eyes, and we're going to pray the sinner's prayer, okay? So, dear Lord, come into my life. Forgive me all sins. I accept you to my life, Lord Jesus. Make me new again and change my life. I want to have you a part of my life, and I give my life to you. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. So it's a very simple prayer. All different churches pray totally different things. So it's just between you and your relationship with God. Whether you're struggling with suicide, whether you're struggling with homosexuality, whether you're struggling with finances, whether you're struggling with unemployment, whatever you're going through. And like I said before, I'm not a perfect person. In no way, I'm not a professional, but I'm just sharing my personal experiences of what I've been through, and hopefully that it will encourage you to whatever you're going through, whether you're single or married, it will encourage you. And so I just pray you guys for guidance and protection and comfort and love, and that, you'll just give all your worries and all your anxieties to over God, for he cares for you. So this is LaQueen from the snowy south side of Chicago. I want to just, guys, encourage you to have a wonderful, happy Valentine's Day, and just much love and much appreciation. Keep your head up. Don't be worried. Be anxious for nothing, and give all your cares and all your anxieties over to God. So much peace and love from the south side of Chicago. This is LaQueen. Have a great day. Bye.